Is John. Here's your moment of truth. What is God's criteria for more? You ever found yourself desiring more? You say, God, give me a different job. You're saying, God, at this job, I want this promotion. Maybe you're saying, God, give me a business. God, expand my territory. God, give me more finances. Whatever your more may be, the question on the table is, what is God's criteria for more? I tell you, God's criteria is faithfulness. He talks about this principle, and it's talked about many times throughout the Bible. Let me just tell you about three. I'll tell you about three, but let me focus on one. He talks about it in Luke, the 16th chapter. He tells us that it's required of a steward to be faithful. He talks about it in Matthew, and he tells us about the parable of the talents. But the one that I want to focus on for the sake of time is 1 Corinthians 4, verse 2. Brother Paul is speaking to us, and he says that, again, it is required of a steward to be found faithful. But the reason that I want to focus on this particular verse is because what he says next, he says that I could care less. This is Paul speaking. I could care less what the mere human standards are. I can care less what other people are doing and what they say. Paul says I can care less about the human courts. I could care less what a court would say. Why does Paul say this? Because then he says, because only God can judge me. Only what he says matters. So I have to be faithful to what? I have to be faithful to what he says. So what I'm telling you is that if God's criteria for more is faithfulness, then it's also required for you to know what that means. What is he asking me to do? Because you cannot base that upon the world standard. He says it is required to be faithful. The criteria for more, he says, to those who are faithful, I give more. To those who have not been faithful what they have, I take away. Understand God's standard for more. He says in 1 Corinthians 4, I'm back there. He says, if you have not been faithful over the little that you have, why would I then consider you to be faithful over more? If you have not been faithful to the person that you're working for now, if you have not been faithful to the business now, why could I trust you for more? And to give you perspective, the law of tithes. Please pay attention and please take note that God does not need our money. So then why does he have this requirement? Because what he's saying is it's an accountability management system. If you fail to do this, how can I trust you for more? But here's what we say, man, if I only had ABCD, if I had this amount of money, then I would give. And he's saying, I have watched you. And when I take account of what you had, you were not faithful with what you had. God's criteria for more is faithfulness. But please don't base your faithfulness on Aunt Gina's standard. Please don't base your faithfulness on what the social media standard of the day is. Don't base your faithfulness on what everybody else is doing. Please make note what Paul says. The emphasis is 1 Corinthians 4. I could care less. God will judge me on the account of stewardship that he has given me. It's never this. It's never that God does not want you to have it. He's saying, I can't trust you. The criteria then is faithfulness.